Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy for nerds by nerds. I'm Nerdicus Dave, and as usual, I'm hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchist Ted.
What's up, my man? It's been a while.
It is a fine and lovely Monday evening. Uh, yeah, and we're here to, talk about gods and piety and all of that jazz
And whatnot. Don't
and
forget,
whatnot.
don't forget the whatnot. Yeah, so in preparation, I went back and read the piety section in the DMG. It's like this big. Because it's
Well,
part of Renown, basically. It's just like, hey, do you want to do all this Renown stuff, but with the gods?
the god stuff is in the moot book.
Um, yeah, I mean, that's going to get into specifics, and that expands on it a bunch, and I didn't look at that yet because I figured we're going to do a video on it at some point. Probably Wednesday is a good possibility.
I would imagine so. I just started looking through it, and it's more about a structure and you know when we look at the gods, it's a scenario of and bear with me, fans and friends out there. We're not trying to turn this into a you know philosophical and religious debate, but in our world, faith is a structure. There is no divine evidence of there are legitimately gods that can appear on this world and enact magical miracles. Uh, I am Christian. I've been raised that way. I believe in God, and that's as far as I'm going to go with it. Dave has got a different belief.
He's like a
But
goddamn heathen. Matter of fact, from my earliest days, remember my mom being like, "You goddamn heathens, what are you doing? Put that down. Don't paint the dog. Don't do this. Don't do that."
but in a fantasy world, it takes someone who is going to extraordinary measures to try to deny the existence of the pantheon of gods that exist within most fantasy worlds, unless you're going to take a break from the norm, do a Dark Sun or Dark Sun-esque game. You can say I don't follow the gods, but you really shouldn't be saying or can't be saying the gods don't exist. So when you look at that,
Ted, there's
that
people
has
that think the world's flat today. So I challenge you, sir, and I indeed believe people can role play characters that do not believe in the gods, even if they show up and been like, boom, I'm a god, and I just resurrected that town.
so all right, that is fine and purely logical, but it is far easier in a fantasy world to see the actual existence of the gods, see the miracles that they can do, and that has to kind of shape the world and in some ways shape the characters. And that's for me, that's why I tend to favor characters that have religion. That's why I play clerics, is because it's obvious. Like, there are almighty beings out there who literally could just be like, I'm going to summon a fist that is going to come down in a pillar of earth and crush you flat. Why would you not pay homage to something like that so that, another one doesn't do it? I don't know. So
So worship the
for
gods
me,
out of fear. Gotcha.
well, it's not necessarily fear, but, they have power, and through that power, comes a lot of things. And then by having a faith, by having a character who believes in that kind of stuff, it helps build the role playing. It shapes the character that I'm going to play, because you've got some guidelines, you've got some things to work with, and it's got both sides. You choose a pantheon. Oh well, that means that you now have adopted enemies. Thank you for playing. Gives the DM things to work with. It gives you goals. It gives the DM quests. It gives all these things that you get to work with to help shape your character, to help shape out the world. So yeah, why not get into that?
Well, I also feel like it does something else, right? Especially specifically when we're talking about piety and using it in your game. Even whether you use Mythic Odysseys of Theros, or you kind of like steal some of it to use, or whatever you want to do with it, right? If you want to have a very kind of like divinely inspired game where the gods do have a large say in what's going on with the world and it matters to the players, if you use a system like Piety, you can have everyone be involved without actually being a divine caster, right? The
100%.
fighter, the rogue. So it's a kind of a cool way to introduce more of these elements or a theme into your game that otherwise might not work, right? Where you're like, oh, well, we all have to be clerics and, you know, paladins and druids maybe, or a divine sorcerer or celestial. Although it is a lot easier. Let's face it, you can play half the classes and still be divinely connected. But if you want to have no connection to to divinity via your character class, piety would be another way of adding it into the game and something your character can strive for. And also it becomes this really cool, role playing tool. Like I had fun playing my Gungle character in Esper the Bard's game, where instead of being tied to a religion in that way or a god, it was the kingdom and to the throne and the powers that be. So it's a fun way where you can connect the party together for this theme.
Yeah, I agree on that. And you can use those as tools. You can shape it, and from a like a session zero standpoint, you could take these guidelines, and even if you weren't going to play a Theros game where you've got access to these supernatural gifts, you could decide, all right, well, we want to just use the piety system, and all of the characters are going to worship this god of justice, or this god of combat, so something that's going to fit nicely no matter what spectrum the players choose, and you're going to be these divine agents. You're going to go and build your piety score and go and play this, or maybe your game has more of a a triumvirate or a pantheon that is ranked with tiers of, okay, here are the greater gods, here are the lesser gods, and they work in these majesties, trinities, whatever, and they all work. These groups work together. So we're gonna have these three gods, these four gods, whatever the number of players you have are, and they're going to go off on a quest, and they're going to help each other, and they're all technically on the same side, but they're all worshiping different gods, so they're all still trying to build out these things, and at the same time accomplish whatever your main quest is that will benefit all of said gods.
And the other, so there's like another angle too, like a purely mechanical angle. If you just want to add ways for your players and to power up their characters in the game, it kind of just adds another avenue to do that as well. I mean, because if you look at the Theros game, like everyone starts off with this supernatural gift, and then you have piety that you can build up as well, and that's in addition to your character class and anything else you have going on.
So as we kind of discussed, in house, is like that is something that clearly is showing a bit of escalation, but it's designed for a world where the things are more powerful than the average mortal. So you kind of need these extra things. So like you have to consider those kind of things when you're working on it, because if not, oh well, look at this. They can't handle this challenge. They need more power.
I kind of mentioned the idea that you could use the piety score in those divine themes in your game to tie your characters together, your adventuring party, right? And another thing that would do that as well, if you're all working towards this idea of piety and increasing that score in the game, that means something, right? It means something different, like you're devout. So right. I think it would make it easier to have hooks automatically. And these are hooks with rewards too. So like the players kind of know, like if you do certain things, then you get rewarded by the gods, for doing them, for building that piety up. It's also kind of weird too when you think about it mechanically. This idea that there's the score you're building, but it does give you a tool in your role playing box.
It gives you a tool, and it kind of at the same time, it's a a connection that your player character, when you've got like, hey, here is a score that I can legitimately look at to say, here is a representation of my strength. Oh well, now we have this score that is a representation of how strong my connection is with my deity. and your DM has the power to say it goes up or it goes down. And when you've got those kind of things, that can be a good role playing tool. Hopefully not a crutch to let if you are playing a character and you want to be devout, and you are actively not making the choice to do so during the session, like, oh, the DM can say, okay, well, your score has gone down one this session because you didn't do this or you didn't say that. There was this opportunity. So I think that is kind of cool to be able to say, oh, well, am I losing my way? And another thing that while it is a mechanical thing, it can actually aid in role playing and keeping a character on track. Looking at our own games, I can definitely look at the game, the first game that I ran, the Curse of Narcitus, and Nate's character who had the reluctant cleric. He was someone that he probably would have maintained a very low level piety score for most of the game. It wasn't until like he got a significant amount of power that it's like, what? Hey, I'm gonna do these great things where there would have been big leaps where he's like, what? We've got some downtime. I'm gonna go, craft this, this massive grove in the name of Gaius. It's like, wow, did not see that one coming, but awesome.
So a game like that also I feel like requires a bit of buy-in and consent from your players, because it does create a very different type of game. So if you have players that don't want to buy into being pious or religion in your game, it's not going to be a good time for them, and they're going to start to kind of be underpowered. Matter of fact, we've had players like that in our games, so violently so.
Just because there was a death threat at the table because someone was forced to pay some lip service to a deity, it's weird. But I would agree that this should be a topic that is discussed at a session zero, or if you wish to actually add it to a game, to make sure that everyone is on board, because the low level powers aren't anything that are super fantastic based on what I've read. It's just like Renown that they get a bump at 3, 10, 25, and 50, and we're not going to go in depth here, but like, all right, that's 4 extra things that you're going to get on top of everything else that is there. So yes, those definitely have some capabilities to enhancing characters and offering some extra things that you wouldn't normally get. So I definitely see that some characters might miss out, but at the same time, like, I can't tell you of a single campaign where like the DM has felt, all right, well, I definitely um we'll address your comment in a moment there, Crazy Hermit. But where the magic items and everything else all seem perfectly balanced amongst all the player characters, you try to you try not to show favorites. You try not to say, oh well, this character's done this or this character's done that. Like, I can remember games where we were given XP and XP wasn't always given out evenly and fairly and whatever have you, and that's a different style game than what we play now. I can remember times where it's like, all right, this character got a really powerful magic item early on, and everybody else is like sitting there twiddling their thumbs like, okay, well, when do I get something? So like, you can't think about those kind of things. If you're on board for playing a game and you're choosing not to play a character who's pious, okay, well then you're just not going to get those kind of things, and that is your choice. It could be something where the player realizes it, and then the character decides to make a change, and that could be something that happens late in life. Of, oh well, I've found religion, I've found my way. Or it could be a, what, well, screw you gods, and I'm now going to go and maybe the DM says, well, all right, these characters are looking at, Iconic, at piety scores, but I'm going to give you, the iconoclast supernatural gift, just because you're that dead set against the gods, and you don't want to deal with that. All right, sure. Maybe there's some other boon or something that you can put out there to balance the scales if you really care that much. So yeah,
Anti-piety.
so Crazy Hermit, we'll give you the brief story. In the earlier version of what we now have as the Chimes of Discordia, we had the world of Ulfgania, and Maltritus, the god of the oceans, the god of storms. He was a bastard of a deity, and he demanded lip service to cross his waters. So it became a cultural thing that you don't step foot on a boat without saying some kind of prayer or lip service to Maltritus. A fellow player character, our friend Johnny, had a bard who had a boat by the name of Please Maltritus, Don't Sink Us. And our friend, and I'll leave his name out of it just in case, there is a small chance he stumbles across our videos. But he, out of game, is very much against religion and what have you. And I was not aware of how far against religion that he was personally. And the lore got shared amongst the party, and the party is getting ready to board the boat. And one by one, each character in turn were, doing their thing, and the bard let them on the boat. And then it comes to this guy's character, and he wasn't having anything of it. And he's getting ready to just push his way on, and the bard cast Charm Person on him. And he failed his saving throw, and, he did a little nod and stepped onto the boat. He did what his character would do. And then he immediately stood up and threatened the other player's life and says, if you ever do that again, I will kill you. I was the DM. I was very uncomfortable at the scene that I allowed to unfold. And it's moments like this.
It's always your game. It always happens in your game.
So it is moments like that definitely make me, glad that I'm now aware of, the session zero and things that, you can ask your players and say, look, is there something that makes you feel uncomfortable? And we will avoid them. So if you have a player who is that dead set against something, you don't do those types of adventures and make those type of things happen. You can gloss over, all right, we're ready to set sail and off you go. And we don't need to discuss those little minor bits of lore and who said what and who didn't say what, because we don't want to have these quarrels with the people that we invite to our actual table. So I look at that, and
I don't know if this actually adds to the story or not, but he was also a Marine recruiter. So
I was purposely not sharing any specific details.
I thought it was important to let people know that I guess technically he's been trained to kill, and he did threaten to kill.
All right. From that point, that is absolutely true. He definitely served our country and knew how to use weapons and knew where to get them. So yeah. So to my Marine friend out there, please don't kill me.
Well, it's funny because you also had another moment in the game. It wasn't based off the religion. It was just angry role playing. And someone got very, very into their character. And they were having a disagreement with an NPC who you happen to be role playing because you're the DM. And it was another one of those moments for you.
Yeah. That is where, the player turned and looked at me and, had the same kind of thing of, I will kill you. And I had to laugh because I did not know whether it was a character to NPC threat or a player to DM threat, I was yet again very uncomfortable. I'm like, oh my
Ted,
god.
Ted, when we had one player put another player in a headlock, were you running that game as well?
Um, no, I think that one was you.
Okay, I wasn't sure, but I was like, oh,
I
that would be a perfect hat trick if it
I
was.
think that was your Shattered Realm game.
Yeah, I think you're right. I
I
was,
I can still picture where we were sitting at my small dining room table at my last house, and
yeah,
I can picture the crappy table and the couch where like that like each of these moments I have got burned into my skull. Your former basement is where the the incident happened with the Marine recruiter, and the basement right over here is where the other one is. So.
and the other one happened in your house in, what was that? Uh,
National Park.
National Park. That's it. Yeah, you know what? I got so angry when that happened in that game that I only remember getting in the person's face that initiated the actual physical act. And after and then it happened. I was like, when you game long enough, interesting things happen. Or maybe we just know a lot of jackasses. I don't know.
I think that we have just been gaming for so long
Yeah.
that those 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000 moments have just come around enough that it's like, all right, it just took these things. We've had the privilege of gaming with dozens and dozens of different people, and the RPG hobby interest, whatever you want to look at it, tends to find eclectic individuals to begin with, and all it takes is the right thing to be set in motion, and all of a sudden someone's going to overreact. Someone is going to do something that they might regret later. um, you know Nowadays I get to look at these moments and laugh. And some of them I've had to laugh at that moment just because the stress level was that high and there was nothing else to do. But you know what? It,
Well, you figure like that stretches back to like I want to say 96, 97, right? Because I got married in 98.
so I mean, with the incident in with the please Maltrators don't sink us. Like, I want to say that's definitely like late 90s to early 2000s. Um,
So that's
because
not too bad. 20
I
plus years.
I graduated high school in 96, and the individuals were involved, the bard I met when I was in college. So like definitely in that in that spectrum, because that bard only gamed with us for a while.
So we're good for an incident like every 6 years or so.
So we probably got a good 2 to 3 years before it happens again.
Yeah.
So all right, I can hopefully not have something like that happen here. Hopefully.
Hopefully. I mean, we're older. Our players tend to be older now, so maybe we've moved on from that part of our lives.
Well, I mean, in each of these situations, like I think all of I hate to use this word, but the aggressors,
The agitators.
the agitators, if you will, were all older than me.
Oh, so you're
So-
saying age is not a factor?
So age is not necessarily a factor. It's going to come down to temperament, and we don't always know what is going on in the lives of our fellow gamers if we're not taking the time to explore those situations and see what's up. So it helps to really know what's up.
Take
ask
a
your
minute.
friends.
Take a minute to see where your friends are at today before you start chucking dice with them, because they might be chucking them at you before the end of the session. Who knows?
All right, so we can't insult Metallica, or Kevin might go Dave Mustaine on us.
Which Metallica? Like before the Black Album Metallica? I think I kind of stopped at like the Black Album.
I like a lot of different types of music, so I'm certainly not going to insult Metallica. Besides, Kevin had a really good comment earlier. When we were talking about gods.
Yeah, he was in my fan game on Sunday. Feels like so long ago. I have to send some people out some stuff from that game too. If you're listening, it will get there. I'm just a little slow with a long list of things to do.
Yeah, I've got my fan game planned for later this month. So far, I've actually had 2 people already respond to say that they can make it.
Woohoo!
So I will keep all of you informed if there is some opening and how you might be able to get in on it. But definitely looking forward to that because with all 3 of us running games now, we do it's now every 3 months. So it's been a while.
Yeah. I think that was the first time I DM'd since the last fan game. Because I haven't been running the fan game since the Rona hit. So we're just finally getting ready. I guess in a couple of weeks we're going to start a new campaign, or we're going to talk about a campaign, Session 0. You haven't chimed in yet.
Oh, I thought you said that you were going to make it D&D to be easy.
I am. Yeah, it seems like. Also, I had a major faux pas in that game, and I can't believe it. But so I was talking to 2 different people with the same name.
Okay.
And I offered the game to the wrong person.
Oh.
And like so folks, so like the idea is these games we're planning on running them in person. So like I was looking at a specific person because we hadn't gamed with them. And also it was a young couple, so I was like, that's just kind of cool to mix it up and get some new blood into the group. And they were local, they're just over the bridge in Philly, which is like 20 minutes from Ted's, not bad at all. And then I realized at some point I put the right person in the chat, but I've been speaking with the wrong person, and the right person I put in the chat. It's so weird. They never said anything.
So I in regards to that game, I am potentially looking at if we do a D&D game, to make things easier for some of the new people in it. I've got some character concept working on, percolating in the head, but I figured just like you, I'm able to handle a lot of variety of different systems.
Yeah.
So I'll let those who really want to weigh in, and I'll just deal with the whatever the aftermath is. So.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of want to run a campaign, a D&D campaign, but I also kind of want to play some other things. So, but I think D&D will make it easier in the fact that we can just share a D&D campaign with everyone. They can have all the stuff. No one has to learn anything new. But maybe after a dozen sessions or a half a dozen sessions, people want to switch it up and do something different. Let the group get comfortable with each other first, and then we can get uncomfortable with using a different system.
So I mean that absolutely works for me. We're with New Jersey starting to lessen some of its some of its restrictions. My group is talking about getting together for session 2 in person.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh,
I'm not sure I'm there yet, man. I think we're gonna see some big spikes coming up. So
well, I mean, I was kind of considering. I know our lovely fans are probably loving us airing out these conversations.
Welcome to Nerdarchy Live.
But at Nerdarchy or question in front of it if you guys have got a question for us, and we'll definitely cover it.
So one of the things I was going to offer up for the game to kind of at least talk about gaming is Court of Worms, if people would like to get in on that campaign.
Oh, okay.
So Court of Worms is so I rated for Saver Dice, and it's just a region of our world that I kind of just carved off, and it's all the reptilian races are kind of the dominant races in that area. With it's ruled by like dragon overlords or high lords or whatever you want to call them, and their vassals are all the kobolds and dragonborn. So the major metropolitan areas are those races. And I had run a one shot for you guys, and I believe it was Mark's birthday.
Yep.
And he wanted to play something and wanted to do something different. And it was his wife at the time, or is his wife, wanted to join him, or that was his like birthday request. Will you play D&D with me for my birthday?
And I think that was like the first time that she had played. And it was
no, because before they got married, she had popped in and played a session or two in your game. I think it was your game, but that felt more like a scouting mission to me. Mm-hmm. Like she was like, "Is this really what my man does on Saturday nights, or is he out walking on me or something?" And she showed up, played with us, looked around, and went, "Yup, he is not getting laid anywhere else, and I'm going to go back to doing what I do on Saturday nights."
All right. Well, I guess I kind of merged those two things together. But yeah, that game was really cool. We had all kobolds and dragonborn. That was the restriction on the game. And I had a kobold druid of dreams, and we had discussed, and I wasn't really thinking about it when you had broached the idea. But in our world, we were talking about how the dragons don't always hatch from dragon eggs. That sometimes you actually have someone who is a lesser draconic race, and at the right time and at the right place, they can ascend or evolve, and they get to become a dragon.
Well, there's a video on the channel, and the concept was dragons lay eggs. They lay a bunch of them, almost like fish or something, right? And dragonborn and kobolds hatch out of the eggs, and it's extremely rare for a dragon to actually hatch out of an egg. And then one of the kobolds might ascend to become a dragon. Dragonborn are just beat. They're just always going to be. They're just going to be dragon lackeys.
And I was the kobold who became a dragon, and it was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, it was an escort mission. They just had to escort this kobold up the side of a mountain to this like mystic pool, and have them bathe in it. And it turns out that wasn't actually the one that was going to ascend. But I think I randomly picked a kobold out of.
Yeah, it was you actually dropped the die in front of all of us, and it's like, okay, 1, 2, okay, you.
Yeah.
You pointed at me, and I'm like, oh my god, am I dead?
But oh yeah, what happens? Oh no! But I want to expand quarter worms to include turtles and lizard folk, and whatever reptilian races there are. I don't remember them all off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely things to look at, and it could be something that we expand upon that, and if we find out if there's a niche that doesn't exist, we could create some of our own races.
Yeah, there's humans in there, but they're like primitive. They're the primitives, and I think the Dragonborn refer to them as the hairless apes.
Oh god, that's gonna be awesome.
So
I mean, that might happen to change my concept, or it might not. I'm still pretty set on what I want to play class wise, but I haven't built the rest of it yet.
Yeah, so I'll come up with some ideas to kick out there, especially if we're going to play D&D, and see what people want to do. And I think that'll be one of the options.
All right, so we actually have a legitimate question from Crazy Hermit DM. Nerdarchy, do you guys prefer a campaign setting where the gods are more active, or off in the background and not dealing with mortals?
I don't think I have a preference. I think they're two different styles of play. And I think the one where the gods show up it's going to be kind of humbling, right? Because they're like, huh, I don't want to get squished. So you're gonna kind of, it's gonna change how you interact with your NPCs, and also too, like there might be this idea that you don't actually know when you're just dealing with a person or you're dealing with a god. So so it might change how you do things. Like I mean, in our world a little bit, we do that with one specific god, and that's our beggar king god, because the kind of the story is like any beggar could technically be that god at any given time. So you might want to be careful, who you mistreat, because you may incur the wrath of of the beggar king.
Yeah, and chances are small, so many people are actually willing to make that choice, but those who are in the know tend to favor, and that as a DM that has the ability to be like, okay, well, when you've got this lore and you've got the ability to enact it, you can take those moments and have fun with them. If the character doesn't have that lore, I think it's bad to just go ahead and punish them because the character didn't know. Um, I honestly feel that it can be more enjoyable when the gods are involved, because the stories, in my opinion, get to be a little bit richer um, through those layers. You can literally, and it's actually pointed out that in Theros, the gods can literally be your quest giver. They can be like, by divine proclamation, I need you to take care of,
Go get me a loaf of bread, but not any bread. You must get the loaf of bread from the good place that makes the bread.
I was kind of going a little bit, higher than that of, deal with this, threat to your world, not go get the freaking good bread.
Oh no! Go get me. I want the biggest bag of M&Ms, and if there's one freaking green M&M in there, I will turn you into a slug.
So Dave wants to know, and this is going to be quite comical. Do you always have a fleshed out campaign setting for every campaign?
We don't flesh anything out. We kind of make it up as we go along. You know what? There's like a couple of things going on there, especially nowadays. Like we used to hardcore, like we fully built. You know what? We might have been traumatized a little too, but we fully fleshed out Wolfgang. We did a lot of world building in that world, and played there for a while. And then again with Shattered Realm, I did a bunch, but not as much as we did with Olfgania. And like we had like poured our heart and soul in that world, and then turned it in for the D&D campaign setting submission. And then they went and made Eberron.
And it's like, wait, this is what they were looking for. Wow, ours is crap in comparison.
It's true, and we never built again. No, so so now it's like we build so much stuff on the channel and make so much stuff, in videos and blog posts, even in products. I feel like when we're doing stuff in our games, we tend to be a lot more free form. Which I mean, Ted's a little bit different nowadays because he's gotten into this crafting kick, and like you if you're gonna make stuff, you have to figure out how you're gonna use it. So you're kind of forced. I mean, that's my interpretation, but you can speak for yourself.
So like when I look at things, like there are elements that I think in our world that I definitely feel are lacking. I have never really been super into let's make a map, let's make continent, but like the old cartography tool that you had on your old house way back when, like you built the world, we knew where it was, and we could go from Karsha Pantheon to Himrick and Hoggleford and Gronor and what have you, and like it was all there. And like we have taken some of that world and incorporated it into what we have as Chimes of Discordia, and we've got continents. But like now, like I run in that world and I steal bits and pieces from wherever have you, and like Dave and I were both running games out of Griffin Gaff, and mentally the picture of where everything was, where the waterways were, where Stonehome, not Stonehome. Where was
Crathan Gulch.
Crathan Gulch, and the Elven City. Uh, like we all had different ideas as to where they all were, and it was hysterical.
They
Like
moved. It was magic. Like at that time, I think Nate was still involved, and we're discussing it, and we each had a mental map, and none of them were even close.
yeah, we I think at one point in time we drew it, and Dave's like, the water's not that freaking close. What do you do? Like it wasn't like a hardcore argument, but it was definitely
Someone almost got put in a headlock. That's all I'm saying.
but it was definitely fun. So fleshing out our worlds, yeah, it's doable, but it's not. There's full-time jobs, spouse, kids. We just want to play the game. If something comes up and we aren't sure, we wing it, and if we write it down, it gets added to the thing. If not, well, hopefully somebody remembers, or it's not important.
Yeah, I mean, so for world building, the way I actually like to do it, and that is to start small and just work my way out. And by small, I mean, where are the players actually at? What are they interacting with? What are they doing? It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me now to build off way in the distance where my players may or may not go. So, any world building I do is kind of determined by what my players' goals and aims are and what I think they're going to do in the game. And so I build, I build as I go. I'm laying the railroad tracks as we steam forward.
I'm kind of in that same boat. When I look at all the things that have happened, it's like, all right, I'm competent in my abilities that I can or confident in my abilities that I'll make it happen when it's necessary. And when you look at how the other players, the characters interact, they're telling you what things are important. When you do a session 0, when you find out, oh well, this character is seeking this as a goal. All right, let's put a big circle around this and make sure this happens during the game. And oh well, this particular set of characters, they have all decided to dump intelligence. Well, that definitely is going to inform the game, and I am not going to care about books because these people clearly don't. So I look at those kind of things. But Hector has the next question of, when making a campaign, do you all consider what races are or aren't in your world?
I think we pretty much just dump them all in. Like, we're not likely to go, no, you can't play that. Ted might say no to a Yanti pureblood, but and maybe satyrs now as well. I don't know. But I've never told anyone like you can't play anything in particular. Only the Court of the Worms game was that one was a little bit different. But even like when I ran it for the one shot for you guys, I was like, do you guys want to play a Dragonborn Kobold game? And you guys were on board. And then when I ran it for Saber Dice, none of them were those races, right? So they came from someplace else. But if I do pitch that one, I probably wouldn't say no to any race in particular. Or try and figure out a way to make it work. They might just have to be an outsider or something. But I was looking when we were talking, and like you have like 6 different reptile/amphibian races to choose from, so it's not a bad selection.
What is that? Kobold, Dragonborn, Yuan-Ti, Turtle, Lizard Folk, Grung.
Turtle as well.
I said Turtle.
Oh, you said Turtle already. Yeah, so I mean there's a decent amount to choose from.
So and then everything else would kind of, like I imagine there's a hierarchy in there to play with, and you can absolutely use other things, and you just have to accept that you're of a lower station than that. So, but that is definitely fun.
It's okay because no matter what you choose, as long as you're not a human, you still have the humans to look down on.
Dave, no, we do not do the PH book +1 rule. We tend to open things up to not only everything that Watts puts out, we generally allow UA, we allow all of the stuff that Nerdarchy creates.
Everything but the aim action. Ted will not let me use the aim action.
That was a UA, and it's broken. The rogue does not need help.
It's not broken if you ever see me roll dice. It would just help a little bit.
uh, but it's a even beyond that, there are a lot of third party publishers, and we technically now fall into that, considering next month should be the release of OOTB. So when we look at that, like, all right, we've got friends at Kobold Press and Nord Games and a variety of other places, and if somebody comes to me and says, hey, can I play this race, this subclass or class, you know I'll look at it, and most of the time I'm going to say yes. You bring me something from the D&D wiki, I'm not even going to read it. I'm just going to say no. Like, that's my guideline.
Was it made by a professional or us?
Fine, fine distinction there, huh?
Yeah,
Hey, our writers are sometimes actual published authors, so
Well, that's true. Our writers are really good. We are not always our writers, but our writers are really good. Megan, they put out some great stuff. Steven has done some great work on the site. Doug does a lot of amazing writing and articles on the website. So we've been very fortunate that way. And then meantime, I think we have a lot of good ideas, and then we have people that write better than us. Fix it.
Oh, Dave, that would be amazing. I might have to run a D&D wiki only game.
Yeah.
Oh God.
It'll be just like a bunch of stuff that was remade from third edition, but worse.
Well, I mean, we have a game. I imagine it's somewhere buried deep on the channel that one of the Nerdarchy fans ran a game where it was like a 40th level game. You basically multi-classed, two classes, to level 20. So like, I imagine, you'd be seeing some of that kind of ridiculous power. So be prepared.
Yeah. What did you make? A monk?
I had a monk Kensai with the original, whatever the mystic, the original Scion, and it was ridiculous. I was a Ghostwise halfling, and I got to be able to grow to like huge size and just punch the ever loving crap out of the Tarrasques. Yes, that was plural, Tarrasques.
Hey, I got to kill a bunch of Tarrasques too, but we were on level 40. We what is it? Planet of the Invasion of the Tarrasque by James Intercasa. We did play 20th level characters, which was fun.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to play my armless. Was it Way of the Astral Monk?
Oh, nice.
Which was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, Astral Monk is pretty awesome. That didn't exist back then.
No. But Kensei's pretty fun too.
Kensai is pretty awesome.
What weapon did you use?
But it was definitely a fun game. It was a 3-on-3, 3 Tarrasques versus 3 40th level guys, and
the Tarrasques never stood a chance.
They didn't.
I can just imagine them exploded. So your description of your character just makes me think of the Apache Chief from the Justice League, the old cartoon from when I was a kid, complete with sound effects. Because I cannot think about that character without the sound effect from him growing.
But it's definitely good stuff. We got a lot of fun things, a lot of great memories buried out there on the channel for those who wanted to get into some deep dives
from all those games that we used to play with Google Hangouts. There's a bunch of those on the channel as well, and we even play other role-playing games.
Yeah, I mean, early on, I got to do some Mutants and Masterminds, and show off some of those fun things. Because early days of Nerdarchy, we were fresh fresh off of a lot of M&M, and it was a scenario of like this is what we were doing for a long time. And when we got to people were asking, well, what other games do you play? We're like, all right, sure, let's show you what it is. So
Yeah, there's Heroes Unlimited on the channel. There's Fate Accelerated,
Star Wars.
Star Wars. There's Fate Core. So the early days, there's a bunch of stuff because that was like also like the early days of the OneShot Group, and we
Right.
would play in a lot of different games. And a lot of times they would record it, but even if they were recorded on another channel, I would ask permission to rip them down and throw them up on the Nerdarchy channel.
Did the Ninja Turtle game ever get that happen?
I don't actually know.
Oh, okay, because that was a blast.
It might still be online. It might still be on the SR2 Joker channel. It could possibly live, man. It could live.
I haven't talked to Andrew in a very long time.
I talk to him every once in a while, but and he revitalized the OneShot Group, so it's out there.
And Doug is reminding us that we also have Gamma World.
We do.
I love the heck out of that game because the ridiculous character that I got to play of Gary.
Oh yeah, your priest.
My priest of Gary Gygax.
Yeah.
Who worship Dungeons and Dragons. Because in the world where everything exists in one place, and a gaming store from our universe gets crushed and collapsed into the Underdark, and the books descend upon the Myconids. They find the books, and I'm like, oh my god, they've got the information about us. They know Gary is amazing. Gary must be a god. So yeah, that's how that all happened.
So I went to SR2 Joker's channel. It's all like gameplays now. He used to have a bunch of stuff. I don't know what it means when it says archive though. Like it comes up when I search Ninja Turtles, our Palladium Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle War Pigs, The Streets of LA game. But it appears to be there in all 3 hours and 3 minutes and 19 seconds of its glory.
Ninja Squirrel.
The Ninja Squirrel, man. And I think I played a hippopotamus sumo wrestler. That used to be an NFL player that got dunked in goop. So
I know when we finished that game, everybody had fun, and they're like, "Oh, we should play another session." And Andrew was like, "Oh, absolutely," and it never happened.
That's pretty common.
Nothing against Andrew. I love the guy. I've had many amazing gaming memories with him, but that was one of those things. It was like, definitely, it was definitely one of those games where, I definitely would have enjoyed a second session.
Another terrible Palladium system. It was a lot of fun though.
Well, I mean, just to kind of highlight how Palladium was. I rolled up my squirrel and I'm like, this is what I'm gonna play. But let me make a second character and just see what happens. And everything about it was just vastly superior. Like a whole tier above in every way.
Yeah.
Right? Ugh, it was ridiculous. My squirrel got a couple hundred gold, a couple $100 to play with, where my badger was like, oh, you give $100,000. I was able to get computer equipment, a van, all the best gear I could use in combat. What is the deal here?
You built the Frank Castle of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle universe.
I had this character that was like, all right, this dude is not all about the the good stuff. He's definitely more middle ground-esque. He broke out of his cell, killed the guards, and just took everything that he could shove in the van and just drove away.
I just envisioned the van with things stacked on top of it, and Porter strapped down so they can make off with it. It was a fun game though, and ultimately too, I may rag on certain systems and certain games, But at the end of the day, if you're playing with a group of people that you enjoy playing with, it doesn't really matter. You can have
Yeah.
fun and see past a lot of that stuff because once you get into the game,
You
it
might
matters
get
less.
some moments of frustration that like I really don't like the way this rule goes or the way this happens here. But for the most part, like you've got the capacity to say, like as you said, once you get to the role playing, like there's no rules for that. Just have a
Yeah.
conversation. You know, like I know that with Palladium, it's like, hey, I need to make a check to know whether I can use rope or not. What? You either climb it or don't, man. What the hell? But if the GM says, "Oh, well, this requires a roll," well, let's see if you can climb down or up that rope.
Well, I mean, D&D has been equally tedious with some of that stuff as well, and still can be, depending on the GM who, if they want you to roll for everything or not. So we're getting to the end. I just wanted to let you guys know we will be back tomorrow night playing some, not D&D. We'll actually be playing Maximum Apocalypse RPG. They've got a Kickstarter launching tomorrow, and they asked us to premiere their game for them. Ted and I have played a couple sessions of it. We had a lot of fun. So we invited some different crew to come on tomorrow and play with us. So I don't even know the scenario we're going to be running through, but I'm sure it'll be a
I
lot
don't
of
even think
fun.
we have our characters yet.
There's a bunch of pre-gens. There's a photo
All
of
right.
pre-gens.
Well, I guess I somehow missed the pre-gen, so I'll have to take a look at that in the sooner rather than later, so that we can be able to, get that moving.
Yeah, but either way, it'll be fun. Scott is the designer, and he was a great GM, and we had fun with his game. So if people want to check that tomorrow night out, basically the same time, 8:00, we'll be doing that.
And then next week, we get to return to those bastards.
Those bastards, which was a lot of fun.
I love that game. I mean, super happy to see that return. We got a few minutes left, so if you got any last minute questions you want to throw at us, you know how to throw it up in that chat.
And are we supposed to show off something this week, or was that or did that happen last week?
It was supposed to happen last week. It's sitting over here. You entertain for a minute while I go grab it.
All right, I will dance. I will dance here and be a performing clown for you folks while Ted grabs the thing. So you may or may not know we do giveaways every month here on Nerdarchy, and it's really easy to get into our giveaways. Go over to our website and there's a form you can download, fill out, mail it to us via snail mail, and we will enter your name into the contest. And we've even had people win that way. I believe one that way one time.
It's happened once.
Or you could just become a patron at any level, even $1, and you're automatically entered every month, and you don't have to worry about it. Ted will just put your name in the hat and crank his lever, and the hat will shoot out names, and then someone will get some cool stuff.
I use a random number generator off of my Excel spreadsheet, select the name, and be able to say, "Ha, you've won."
Blah blah blah.
I send an email. It's going to come from my Nerdarchy address, and give you a couple weeks to respond. If you don't respond, I move on and pick a new name.
It's usually at least $50 worth of gaming stuff.
So we've got. Don't worry, I have a plan. A nice tracker counter. Each of these dials move up to 0 through 9. So it's can be used for low level spell slots, hit points, what have you. We got these from TNT Laserworks at PAX Unplugged. Met those fine people there, and I'm going to give away one a month until I get them. But then from our friends over at WizKids, this month is going to be a board game supply. So we have from Magic the Gathering, Heroes of Dominaria, and then the Marvel Strike Team, and Marvel Strike Team and the expansion Avengers Initiate. Been sitting on these guys for a while, so these boxes are heavy, so I'm afraid of what it's going to cost to ship them out. I'm not seeing an MSRP here, but given the weight of them, I imagine that they are somewhat pricey. They're definitely cool games from the reviews and stuff that I've seen online. But you'll get both games. You'll get the expansion. You'll get the hit point tracker. I usually throw in a couple other, small things into the box. Go ahead and sign up if you're not already signed up, or mail in the form, and this just might be coming to you in the very near future.
Do the things, things, and get free stuff. But with that, now it is that time, so we're going to head on out. But we'll be back tomorrow. Come hang out with us and watch us play some games. So until next time, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.